We're facing an enemy that actually wants to die as he takes your life.
Exactly.
I mean, they think that is the epitome of it, and of course that comes from their false theology. As far as the church being silent, that's the thing that disturbs me the worst of all this. Second only, well, I guess that would be number one, and number two would be the silence in the White House. First thing is the church being silent. We need to be standing up. It's like pastors are afraid to say anything. They don't want to rock the boat. That's because we live in a time when the church growth movement has so enamored the pastors with the idea that if you say anything that's negative, you'll somehow lose people. It's a strange, very strange time we're in, and it takes me back to the very beginning of Matthew 24, where Jesus looked at the disciples who had watched him heal the sick and raise the dead. He looked at them and said, "Take heed that no man deceive you." Now, if that's not a message for you and I, considering those men were convinced of his messiahship, then I don't know what it is.
Well, Eric, I love what you just said, because remember what preceded Jesus making that comment in Matthew 24. The disciples asked him, "When will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" All in response to Jesus saying, "Not one stone will be left upon another." He didn't say, "Well, study Daniel," though that's awesome. He didn't talk about the 10 toes of Daniel's statue. He didn't talk about this or that. The first warning he gave before he went into that discourse was, as you said, Eric, be careful that people do not deceive you. And I think we're living in a time of great deception. And Jen, I love what you just wrote, or what you reread to us, because I personally believe this as I look back at history. Adolf Hitler used World War II as a tool to exterminate the Jews. Remember, his campaign was to destroy the Jews. He used the war effort, that was his passion, to destroy the Jews. And today we see it on a global scale. I believe Islam is using the world scene to destroy the Jews. In other words, the Islamic movement is Nazism on steroids tenfold. Hitler and Islam's goal was the same, to eradicate the Jew, to destroy the Jewish state. And it's a time where the pulpits are silent, because I believe pastors have they've either drank the Kool-Aid of a big church is a sign of success, do what you need to do to get them in the doors. In fact, what came out of the mega church movement of any good? I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't get it. I don't see any cultural change for the good. I don't see America more holy by virtue of the mega church movement. I don't get it. What I do see, in my opinion, this is one reporter's opinion, compromised pulpits have led to apathetic Christians, which have led to community churches being silenced in the community. They exist, but there's no salt and light to them.
You know, Jack, in the 30s, the pastors in Germany were silent just like ours are today. I mean, it's stunning, the likenesses that are going on here.
If you joined me late, you're listening to Understanding the Times Radio. I'm Jan Markell. I have on the line Pastor Jack Hibbs, and in studio is Eric Barger, my co-host for this hour. Jack's one of my guests Saturday, October 4th, just a couple of weeks away now, along with Dr. Ed Heinzen, Pastor Steve Curry. I'll be there. Eric will be there. My whole leadership will be there for our 18th conference since 2001. And we bring in quite a few folks, so check it out online or give us a call. And Jack Hibbs, I want to talk a little bit about your Pulpit Freedom Sunday. Before I get there, I haven't quite left this issue of radical Islam yet. And by the way, Jack, I talked with Ed Heinzen about this. This would have been 2 programs ago, so 2 weeks ago. And we talked a little bit about some of the same issues. So my audience, if you hear some of the same questions and even similar answers, it's because it's the topic of now. It's the issue of the hour. You turn on the national news, and particularly if it's Fox. And by the way, Jack, they've been leading off with what's coming out of the Twin Cities, my neck of the woods here, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And we've got radicals even working at our airport here in the Twin Cities. But here's the headline. Why did YouTube yank pastor's ISIS message? Goes on to say this pastor of a small church in Georgia, Daniel Osbin, he gave a simple, factual message. It wasn't political, a factual message on what is Islam, what's radical Islam, is there a biblical take on it, and YouTube yanked it because he posts his messages on YouTube. This doesn't surprise you, does it, Jack?
It doesn't surprise me. My only question is this, for example. I'm wondering, I've got to find out more about it for this reason. You can go on YouTube right now, for example, and hear messages that we've done pointedly on Islam. If your listeners are not familiar with the gentleman Jay Smith, a world-renowned expert on Islamic theology, Christian, wonderful man, he's all over YouTube, and he's not yet been pulled. My question is, why have they targeted this man? I'd like to know more about this pastor, because there are still YouTube teachings out there that expose Islam quite directly. But the point is this: is this the beginning of a slippery slope type of censorship on YouTube? Which, Jan, if your listeners are aware, but you've got major Islamic sympathy in places like Google and YouTube and other areas where there seems to be some sensitivity for the Muslim doctrine.